Howdy everyone, I'm Joshua Schultz.
Tyler Waldrop, Stealth Art.
We're here at Treadwell Coffee, and make sure you tune in to Good Morning Aurora.
Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
All right now, baby, it's all right now. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is now 8 a.m. and you are listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. And we've got a whole lot going on today. We've got news, we've got updates, we got all that, and we have an interview with a friend of the show, a man well known to many in Aurora, Mr. Charlie Zine. That's who we got on the show today. It's on, it's on, it's on, it is on. So we got a lot to talk about. First things first, I have to tell you that there's a lot going on, and today is the day. It's a Tuesday. It is the 15th of December, and unfortunately today is a somber day because friend of the show, Deputy Mayor Chuck Nelson, is retiring at 5 p.m. during the regularly scheduled meeting of the Aurora City Council this evening, on which Mr. Nelson previously served as Alderman of Ward 4. Council members will offer reflections, and the mayor will yield his time on the agenda to Chuck Nelson for remarks. The meeting will be streamed live on the city's Facebook page and website, and this Friday, which is the 18th at noon, Chuck is going to join the mayor for a Facebook Live conversation about his career and commitment to Aurora. Community members can submit remarks to be read during the conversation by emailing them to myaurora@aurora-il.org by Wednesday. The limited number of people may be invited to join the virtual discussion in real time via Zoom. Mr. Nelson has served as deputy mayor since 2017. He was elected as Ward 4 alderman in 1993. Wow. Damn, 1993. I was 11 years old. That's crazy. Serving 3 terms until 2005. In 2006, he began his tenure as Assistant Chief of Staff for the late Mayor Tom Weisner, a position he held until 2015. Chuck Nelson was then appointed as Director of Neighborhood Standards for 2 years, and he is a class of 1976 graduate of East Aurora High School and an avid White Sox and Bears fan. He's a Sox fan. Good man, good man. Shouts out to Chuck Nelson. So please tune in this evening because it's going to be great as we honor and the city honors an Aurora Patriot. All right. This Saturday, Faith Lutheran is having their annual church nativity scene. The public is invited. Admission, parking, and refreshments are free. Been telling you about this for like 2 weeks now. So please come on out and take part in that. Guests are invited to take their own nativity scene picture. Shout out to Faith Lutheran Church. Applications to join the Aurora CRB Civilian Review Board are online at the city's website. We posted that link. The last date to submit your application is Tuesday, December 22nd. So get on it. There's a list of people who have already applied. So shouts out to everybody who's trying to take part. All right. Township, Aurora Township, do not forget. This is very, 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 very important. Do you live in Aurora Township? Do you? Find out if you do, and if you do, you must vote. The primary is in February, I think on the 20 something, and April 6th is the election. We interviewed 2 good candidates. Yesterday, we interviewed Sherry Spears. That was a great conversation. That interview has been posted to our Facebook and YouTube page. So please subscribe to our YouTube page to stay up to date on all that we have in the way of videos and interviews. You can check them all out there. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our Spotify and our iTunes channel, so you can find us there as well on all of your favorite podcasting sites, including Breaker and Google Play. All right. Don't forget to like and follow the page on Twitter as well. If you got Twitter, holla with the tweets. And if you have Instagram, holler at us on the gram. Good Morning Aurora IL. All right. So where was I going with that? That's right. I remember now. Township. So, yeah, please do, because the election is April 6th. We interviewed Sherry Spears yesterday, and we also interviewed Alex Arroyo, who is a great friend of the show and a guy worth knowing for sure. Shouts out to all of the candidates running in their respective positions for Aurora Township, and shouts out to Bonnie Kunkel, who's also running for Aurora Township trustee. Okay, Wesleyan Flowing Forth, United Methodist, Temple B'nai Israel, New England Congregational Church, and Aurora's Art Gallery. Monday the 21st, using the hashtag Aurora Light Up, community organizations, faith communities, and nonprofits are going to be bringing candles, standing together in unity and silence for 30 minutes from 6 to 6:30 p.m. So please follow all of those faith organizations. Shouts out to all of them. They're doing a great job, and they're representing the city of Aurora very well in a positive fashion for the holidays. It's almost Christmas, y'all. You know what that means. 2020 is almost over, about to be 2021. Can you believe it? I'm ready. All right. Roland Food Service. Shouts out to Roland's Old School right over there at 115 Oak Avenue in Aurora. They are set to deliver 1,000 hot meals to healthcare workers over the coming weeks after relaunching their highly successful Feeding the Frontline initiative. Shouts out to Rush Copley Medical Center, Amita Mercy Medical Center, and Advocate Healthcare locations. The restaurant donated nearly 10,000 boxed lunches to first responders, hospitals, and healthcare facilities in April and May of this year. Shouts out to Ruland and all the frontline healthcare workers helping us all during this pandemic. All right. And don't forget, register your business by December 31st. In the age of COVID-19, the need for highly accurate communication and life safety data has never been more critical. With that in mind, the General Business Registration Ordinance requires all entities conducting business within city boundaries to register with the city of Aurora. Now, the link is so long and crazy. We posted it. Go to our Facebook page. You should be liking and following the Facebook page. Find it there and go online. The registration process is fast and easy. It takes about 10 minutes and it's free. By registering your business, you are contributing to the continued success and safety of your employees, patrons, and fellow businesses. All right. Now, don't forget, we got some December specials going on, taking place. If you are around town in Aurora, you know that Good Morning Aurora can frequently be found at Cottonseed Creative Exchange. You can find us at Treadwell. You can find us at Shouts Out to McCarty Mills. We are all over the place in Aurora. And we're going to do, at this time, we're going to give some shouts out to some great Aurora businesses and let you know what their December specials are. There's a lot of stuff going on. So first and foremost, Oxy Affordable Optical. You can save $25 on $100 gift certificates. Happy Days has 15% off all glass. Treadwell Coffee has a buy a holiday drink, get half off a pastry special going on for the month of December. Gracie G Photography has 265 Christmas mini sessions. Island Optical has half off designer and luxury eyewear. And La Quinta de los Reyes has $5 hot punch and 20% off fajita plates. So shout outs to all those great businesses and shout out to all of the downtown Aurora community. All right. And also want to say, don't forget Christmas toy drive ending on the 20th. 1677 Montgomery Road is the drop off, and that's for our friends of the CAN Network, Community Advocacy Awareness Network, CAA to the N. Shout out to Mary Foltz. You can also see that interview by subscribing to our YouTube channel. All right. And last but not least, I want to give a big shout out to the VNA Healthcare Facility on Highland, the city of Aurora, Pace Bus, and also Aurora Township for providing the shuttle service to get people to and fro their medical appointments. Shouts out for that great community service. So much is going on in the city, and the city is doing so much. Shouts out to our elected representatives, our state representative of the 83rd District, Barbara Hernandez, and also our state representative of the 84th District, Stephanie Kifowit. Also, shouts out to all of the artists, all of the musicians, and all of the painters in Aurora as well. Big shouts, big shouts. Also want to say big shout out to our friends of PLS Solutions. Shouts go out to Two Brothers. Shouts go out to Cottonseed, Crystal House, Stand Up, all of you, all around the city. And shouts go out to the janky yet delicious Dunkin' Donuts located at 3 North Smith Street. You need to do something about that driveway, that drive up. But other than that, keep it flowing. And that is all for the news today. All right, a guest who needs no introduction at all, Mr. Charlie Zine. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Curtis. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. From kayaking back when the weather was nice, seeing you at Two Brothers.
Yeah.
Having a good roundtable discussion with me, you, Greg Zilioli, good friend, a couple others there. It's good to sit down with you one-on-one because I know you have a lot of knowledge and history about the city.
And I enjoy talking about it. It's been fun living here and working here and trying to make it a better place.
Yeah. I ask people all the time, what do they think Aurora's biggest strength is? Most people say diversity. I believe the fact that it has a river, like the old river runs through it. That's what I think. What do you think about that?
I think both those are strong points. I think our strongest point, though, is our size. We're big enough to have a $350 million budget. So when I come up with some crazy idea, and if I can sell it to the right people, there's usually enough money to get it done.
Right.
But we're not so big that a regular citizen, his voice is not heard.
Right.
And so I think we're right in that sweet spot, and that's what I like about small cities.
Yeah, I've always felt that here, especially in Aurora, the administration does a good job with the downtown committees and the streetscape, Aurora downtown. They all meet together and do good things for the citizens.
They do, but I also think a great part of that is the great participation that we have with citizens. We have a lot of cities and commissions. We have Aurora Downtown.
Right.
We have a lot of independent citizens groups that take an active role in leadership in a lot of things that have helped make Aurora what it is today.
That citizen participation is key. You can notice when you go to a city that doesn't have that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You can see
and
that.
when you look at the things that we've got here, I mean, First Fridays was started by an individual citizen, Lisa. She also started the art bar, Lisa Gloria.
Great person.
You know, Alley Art Festival was started by, I think, Marissa. There's a lot of good things that have happened down here that were initiated by citizens that just kind of wanted to be part of the change and to put their stamp on it. And I think that is really important. I think for a long time we have focused on making Aurora attractive to the outsiders, outside investors, and people visiting. And I think more attention needs to be paid to the people who live here, who put in their time and effort and passion and love in the city.
So speaking of which, born and raised in Aurora?
No, actually born about 25 miles north of here in Carpentersville, which is Meadowdale was like a Boulder Hill subdivision, 3,000 homes, 6 floor plans. In fact, I grew up, we would go to Elgin on Saturday mornings to go to the Sears store. And if we found a parking spot within 3 loops around the parking lot, we figured that was a good day. And I used to think, why would anybody live in a city?
Right.
I never got cities. And then after college, I lived in Elgin for a short time while I was, looking for work. And, you get home from work and we would walk downtown and we'd have all these great ethnic restaurants. We had a historic district I lived in. And I thought, this is why people live in cities.
Right.
And I became an urbanite by living in Elgin, and then, you know, when we were looking for a home, we came down to Aurora, which is where I was doing a lot of business, and bought our first home, and we're still in it 35 years later.
Became an urbanite, but didn't lose any rural connections at all.
No, because we're kind of right on the edge.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite playgrounds is Nelson Lake Forest Preserve, which is just west of Batavia, off of Deer Path Road. And it's 1,200 acres, and I go running out there, I go skiing out there in the winter. I've been bird watching with my buddy Vern out there a couple times.
Very cool.
And so I do, and I go bike riding. You know, I'll take the Fox River Trail to the Gilman, out to Orchard, then I'll jump on Prairie Street and just go all the way out to Big Rock and get some country riding in. So I like kind of being on the edge of the, you know, the urban and the wilderness.
Right. Growing up, what impact did your mom have in your life?
You know, we had 7 kids, and my mom and dad both worked. My mom worked like the 3 to 11 shift, and we're not poor, but we didn't have tons of money. We never felt poor.
Right.
We always had a very close family, and I think both my parents were responsible for that. They always used to say, you know, when things get bad, nobody will be with you but your family, you know, and we really believe that.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm real close to my 6 brothers and sisters, even though some of them live in Maine and Arizona, but we're still very close. And I think that's a direct result of my parents.
Have you done a lot of traveling?
Oh yeah, I've traveled around the world.
Really? What's some of the best places outside the country you've been?
My favorite continent is Africa. I spent about 3 months hitchhiking through Africa, climbing mountains. I like Asia. I've been to Pakistan, Nepal, Thailand, China. My last 2 international trips were to South America, mountain climbing, and so I feel like I'm a citizen of the world, and I feel you need to act that way.
Right.
That's not to say I'm not American.
Sure,
but we fit into a bigger puzzle.
Right.
And things like environmental concerns. So I love travel.
Now, you're known for kayaking. Have you kayaked any great waterways outside of America?
Outside of America, let's see. Oh, I've kayaked. I don't know that I have outside of America. I've kayaked the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. Wow. I've kayaked, I've canoed in Canada. I don't think I kayak there.
Right.
But no, my kayak's 17 foot. It doesn't fit into a bag.
I gotcha. I understand. So, Aurora. What's some of the big changes that you've seen in your 35 years here?
I think the biggest change is we've gone from this case where we had this incredible inferiority complex, where now the people who live here are proud to live here, and they're possessive about it, and they take a role in shaping the city, and I like that. I think the administrations have always been open towards that. And it always was kind of 2 cities. You know, there was the far east side, and then there was the rest of the city. And now those lines are kind of fading. Just like there used to be a real strong line between Naperville and Aurora.
Right.
That's fading now too. Yeah. And so I think it's evolved. You know, I moved here in '83, right in the tail end of a terrible recession. Right. You know, 10 years after the Fox Valley Mall opened, which was the beginning of the demise of downtown.
And that's what started it, okay.
And it wasn't until 1989 when we really came up with the future use for downtown, which was going to be arts and culture and entertainment. Right. That was 16 years after, you know, the retailers abandoned downtown. Right. And even then, it took many more years until it really took hold. The first thing we figured out we had to do, in fact, in 1989, when a big redevelopment project for downtown called River City failed, we had a debriefing with the developer, and he said, "You guys just don't get it. You're still trying to make downtown Aurora a retail center. It's not a retail center. Retail centers are picked by, realtors and lawyers in New York, and they look at charts and they look at how many people live within a 1 mile radius, a 5 mile radius, a 10 mile radius, and what's their average income. And at the time, we had very few people living downtown Aurora. So the first thing we did in 1989 was to concentrate on bringing more residents down here. The first thing we did was we came up with like a 3-dimensional zoning where you could have residential upstairs and commercial downstairs.
Right.
And then we started building and converting, retail buildings and commercial buildings into residential, which we're still doing today, 30 years later.
Right, right. Speaking of the mall and what took away a lot of the downtown stores and made downtown what it is now, now we see the mall being demolished and they're going to put some apartments, living residential places out there. Would that mean that downtown has the best shot it's ever had to come back to life?
I think downtown is coming back to life, and I don't think it's that dependent on retail. Retail is a key component, but the bigger component is what we identified in 1989, arts and entertainment. The Paramount is a huge draw, and now Riveredge Park has become a large draw. Both of those venues draw about 85% of their visitors from out of town. So it's not just a matter of getting outside money in, but we're really changing the perceptions, okay? Which is one of the reasons why I think the river is so important, okay? Because for 100 years or more, we use the river as little more than a sewer, and now we're starting to appreciate it as a recreational venue, as an aesthetic asset of the city, and I think that's a big part of it. We did the River Walk,
right.
Riveredge Park, and believe me, we've got a lot more we have to do and we want to do, but you can only do so much.
And it's got the cleanest water? Is that? I've heard a recent water statistic.
The water is cleaner, and one of the big revelations that just happened in the last 4 or 5 years is that the most efficient way to get the river cleaner, the one thing that can have the biggest impact on the water quality is the dam removals. And that was determined by a study, I think it's the Fox River Ecosystem, which is a partnership between the cities, environmental groups, and the wastewater treatment plants, okay? And we've done most of the easy things. In Aurora, we planted over 125 rain gardens, okay? And rain gardens are natural gardens with porous soils on the bottom as opposed to clay. And we divert runoff from the roads into the rain gardens where they filter down through the porous soil, and in that filtering process all the sediments and pollutants get locked out, and then by the time it hits the bedrock and then flows horizontally to the river, it's cleaner. And when I was chairman of Sierra Club, Valley of the Fox Sierra Club, we partnered with Fox Metro and the city of Aurora for a grant that paid for 125 of these rain gardens. You see some of them downtown. Most of our rain gardens went along Sim Street and on the southeast side.
Right.
They had very porous soils there, were ideal locations, and they also had flooding. And so we're using that. We have another type of green infrastructure called a bioswale behind Riveredge Park.
Yes, I'm familiar. Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty cool one. There was a stormwater sewer that went from Broadway and dumped right into the river. And when it does that, it carries all the antifreeze and the gasoline and the garbage and the organic stuff from the sewer right into the river. So a bioswale is a little different than a rain garden. It's more constructed. So the water comes into a vertical pipe, it drops to the bottom, might be 10 feet deep, and then all the solids settle at the bottom, okay? And then about 4 feet above the bottom is an outflow pipe that flows into a low area, also with porous soils, that looks like a rain garden. And then it's all filled with native plants, a lot of which consume petrochemicals, okay, and they break them down. And then there's an overflow that goes, when it gets so high, it overflows, and then it flows into the river. And by that time, most of the physical waste is gone, and a lot of the impurities have been filtered out by the rain garden too.
What do you think about the bridge that has been constructed over the Fox, man? What you thinking?
I have been a proponent of that bridge for so long, and I'm excited about it for several reasons. Okay. The number one reason is it's going to make the near west side, particularly the Tanner Historic District, which is our newest historic district, our largest historic district, and the historic district with the most upzoned homes. Those are homes that were one-time single families that have been upzoned to 2, 3, 4, 6 units.
That's what that's called, upzone.
Upzone.
Okay.
And the problem with upzoning is that the infrastructure was not created for that density. You don't have enough parking on the streets for the cars. You're overtaxing the sewer system. You're overtaxing the schools. You're overtaxing the water system. And so we have been, for the last 20 or 30 years, actively downzoning, trying to convert these single-family homes back, or these upzoned homes, which are like 2, 3, 4, 6 units, back into single families.
Right.
And we give grants for that. And it changes the neighborhood character dramatically.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And there's nothing against apartments, but you need to have apartments built where they fit into the planned density, where the infrastructure can support the density.
Right. Because if you've only got one of those homes that has a 2-car garage and just a medium driveway, having it chopped, for lack of a better term, into 3 2-bedroom apartment units, everybody's got a car, do the math. Now Plum Street or whatever the heck is
exactly
chock full of,
So that's one of the reasons I like the bridge. The other reasons are, number one, if you're a train commuter, which I'm not, but there's a waiting list that's years long to get a good parking spot at the train stations.
Yeah, I was a train commuter for many years.
Okay, so you know that. And yet we had all these parking lots on the west side that were going unused because you had to walk south to New York Street, across the bridge, then north, way up to the train station.
Right.
Now the bridge is right there. So I don't know if those parking spots are going to be free or much cheaper, but there's going to be a lot more parking for people. So that's close to the train station, and it's a pretty walk,
Oh yeah.
And we made sure that there's no steps so that you can ride a bike over it. We made sure that it's not a high hump, because people going to work in their dress shoes in the middle of winter on an icy concrete walkway don't want to be sliding down.
Yeah.
So we did a lot of things like that. So I think that's a big boom. But also, I'm a big trail user, biking and running. And I love these loops. And federal grants for trails don't care about loops. They care about connecting point A to point B.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So you got to be sly to get a loop. And that bridge gave us a loop.
Very cool, yeah. I look at it and I can my mind just flashes to large gatherings, crowds adjacent to Riveredge Park.
Right.
Could you imagine the summertime hubbub and whatnot?
Absolutely.
Now let's talk committees. Bike, pedestrian, and transit committee.
Yep.
What can you tell us about that?
That is my favorite committee, and I've been on committees for 30 years here. Okay. And I try and focus now on just one of 2 areas, either outdoor recreation or downtown. Okay. And so that's why I like being on the bike ped committee. And we've got a bunch of citizens on the committee. We've got bike riders. We have a representative. Actually, Jeff Palmquist, who's the head of planning for the Park District, is not on the bike ped committee, but he comes to every single bike ped meeting. Okay, because the bike trails are owned by the Forest Preserve, the municipalities along the river, and the park districts. Okay, and so you have to have a level of coordination. And Jim Pilmer, who's the head of the Park District, is really big on that. And so Jeff Palmquist, who's on the Design Review Committee with me, he comes to all these things and works seamlessly with the city to improve that. So a lot of what we've been doing there's like 10-foot gaps all over the city where you got a trail network and then it meets the sidewalk, but there's like a ditch and 10 feet in between.
Yeah.
So we've spent, a lot of time identifying those, and then a lot of those we can fix because there's already a fixed budget for sidewalk replacement, so we can slide them in that way without having to wait years to get them on the project.
Right.
But we also worked on things like the Green Mile. Okay. You can take the Fox River Trail, and then they call it something else up north. But you can ride from Oswego to Genoa City, Wisconsin on this Fox River Trail. And for years, the only gap was downtown Aurora.
Wow.
And so it was like a big keep out sign. You have all these people riding their bikes, their $2,000 bikes and their $400 biking clothes.
Yeah.
And they get to downtown Aurora, and it's like, where do you
One
go?
place you can't access is Aurora.
Exactly, and we're trying to revitalize our downtown, and so getting that Green Mile through is a great way to bring tourists down there. I love when I'm running and I see all these bikers parked at Indiro Cafe, and you know, they just are right on the bike trail. They just pull over, they get a cappuccino or a latte. It's fantastic.
I lived on New York Street, so I can remember many mornings, nice morning time, like 10, 12 people.
Exactly.
Bikes hanging out. It's a beautiful scene.
And now we have McCarty Mills in River Street Plaza.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a place in Batavia, I think it's called the Riveredge Cafe. It's right on Water Street, where they've got that nice, it's called a...
Water Street Mall?
No, yeah, I think it's the Water Street Mall.
Okay.
But they have a bar there. It's been America's Bar. It's been many different names. Now I think it's the Riveredge Cafe. But it's one of the few places where you can, you know, on a road bike, I don't carry my bike and my lock and chain, okay? But they have outside seating. You could just lean your bike up against a pole or put it in the bike rack and sit down and have a beer or a drink. And now you can do that in Aurora at McCarty Mills.
Finally.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't done that yet, but I will.
Yeah, River Street, McCarty Mills added a lot of life back there to River Street. Yeah. Because, I mean, all you had for the longest time was Jimmy John's.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and then the...
Society 57 came in.
And the Chinese place, I forget the name of it. It's really good.
Damn it.
Yeah, I know.
Can't think of it, right? Well, they got a 1 and a 2, and the second one is in Oswego, I think.
That's right.
So, and how long have you been on the Bike, Pedestrian, and Transit Committee?
Oh, I don't know, 3 years maybe.
Okay.
I have a hard time keeping track of time. You know, it's just...
It happens, yeah. You're a man of the move.
It gets away from you, you know.
Tell us about the Design Review Committee.
The Design Review Committee is basically the planning commission for downtown Aurora. Okay. And what we do is we promote and guide the redevelopment of downtown according to the existing rules and regulations. Okay. So when somebody wants to change the use of a building or put up a new building or modify a building, it comes through us. Okay. If we turn it down, their only appeal is to go to City Council, and City Council can overcome us. And the reason both these committees are important is because this is where citizens get involved, okay? This is where you got people who are architectural nuts, who are engineers by trade, who are people who live downtown, people who, you know, recreate downtown, people, artists, you know. And so these are people who should have a vote and a say in how we develop our downtown.
Right.
And it takes a lot of work. There's a lot of, you know, preparation that goes into these meetings, and you get these big plans, and you got to look through them, and sometimes we miss stuff. And but we have an opportunity to say what we think is missing on these projects. You know, and a lot of times it's simple things like bike racks. You know, but if you're going to have a walkable city or a bikeable city, you got to have infrastructure like bike racks or bike lanes. You know, and so. Last year, before COVID, we started a program where restaurant owners can take a parking spot in front of their store, cordon it off with barricades, and do whatever they want with it. They can't do it all the time. It's a permit. You can do it for like a week at a time.
The parklet.
A parklet.
Yeah.
And you could put dining tables out there. Yeah. You could put games out there. You could do whatever. And that was kind of a foreshadowing to what happened with COVID, okay? Right. Because with COVID and the lack of inside dining, you know, we started moving out. So one of the things that I want to do yet on the Design Review Committee is to make permanent some of these outside dining areas, okay? The main ones I see are Piney Street, which is behind Gillerson's and Indiro, and it's kind of a dead-end street. And by the way, that is the very first piece of riverfront property the Park District bought in 1946.
Does it include all of the parking lot of what is Hollywood Casino back there? Is that
no, it's just that little alley.
That? Okay,
just that little alley. So,
just that.
And right now, because of COVID, we've cut it in half, and the east half, closest to the river, they put out tables, and you could dine out there.
Yeah.
Now, what I would like to see is take the curbs out, take the asphalt out, put in pavers, make it permanent, okay? And because COVID's going to end, but still, if you have outdoor dining and if it's attractive and it's near the water and you've got music out there, and I think all of these outside spaces should have a small stage area. Doesn't have to be big and fancy. Sure. It just could be a raised area. But they should have that. They should have a place where a food truck can park. I think even after COVID, those are going to be nice attributes for the city to have, nice choices for us to have. I think we can have another one behind 1 East Benton, which is the old public library.
Oh, yeah.
That's all parking back there right now.
And it's huge.
And it does not belong to 1 East Benton. It's city parking. Ah. And if you talk to Ron or Melinda, who own 1 East Benton,
shout outs. Yeah.
They're all in favor of removing all the parking back there.
Yeah.
So that gives us a couple of opportunities. And that's why I like being on these committees that focus on recreation in downtown, because that could also be a future Riverwalk that goes around behind there.
Oh my goodness gracious, could you imagine? That'd be beautiful.
Exactly.
That'd
and
be
then
great.
You've got the vista back there. You're looking south, it's open river. You know, take out all the asphalt and the cars and put in tables and put in some raised areas for entertainment. That's another great outdoor dining area that could be and should be permanent.
So, bike racks and food trucks are under the purview of the design review committee.
No,
it's not ultimate purview, but
no, but it's uses that we're looking for.
Gotcha.
Okay, so what we try and do is come up with ideas, research them independently.
Right.
Okay, see where they're working, see what designs work and what don't work, and then bring those up. I myself, you know, because I've been working as a volunteer for 30 years, I know people in planning, I know people in engineering, I know people in the mayor's office and in special events. And what I'll do is I see something, I go, oh, I like that. We need that here.
Right.
I'll go talk to those people. I'll talk to the engineers and the planners and all those people and get their input and then come up with an idea and then talk to the staff, you know, for the design review committee, talk to my fellow members, and if there's a consensus, then we'll go ahead and push something like that forward.
I gotta say, I thought one of the greatest moves the city made was when they got the, was it Zagster, the bikes?
Yeah.
That was great.
Well, not only
when I walked past, when I saw it that day and they did the little, ribbon cut or whatever, I was like, finally! What the heck? That was a genius.
Now
genius.
Let's take it one step further. On the Bike Ped Transit Committee, we have a guy, Ryan, who is the bicycle guy for Kane County.
Okay.
And he's on our committee. So he comes to every single meeting we have. And we had this idea, you know, it'd be great if we could take these bikes outside of Aurora, but every different town up and down the river had a different vendor. So Ryan took his position and coordinated it, and now all the river towns from Oswego, I don't know how far north, Elgin maybe, we're all going to get the same vendor. You can take a bike from Aurora to Oswego and drop it in Oswego, okay? You can take it up to St. Charles, to Geneva, to Elgin, and drop it there, okay? Legally, you know? So, but that's this whole regional thinking. We live on a river. It's a linear thing. We have all these little towns in between. And so, again, you've got Park District, you've got different municipalities, you've got the county, and in this case, you know, we have a county rep, Ryan, who's on our committee, who helps, you know, facilitate this and sell it to the other committees along the way, or communities along the way.
Have you found that these ideas, specifically this one, have they been hard to sell to some of the other towns?
No, but because we do the prep work, okay? And because we have things now like Riveredge Park. You know, one of the plans I have for Riveredge Park, and again, they're all intertwined, is to have a bike and a boat corral so that more people can ride their bikes. I've never driven my car to Riveredge Park for a concert. We walked or taken our bikes, okay? And right now there's not a lot of people doing that, so I've never had a problem getting a bike rack. But hopefully there will be a problem, okay? Nobody on the west side should drive their car to Riveredge Park or the Near East Side, okay?
Not at all, yeah.
But you gotta have safe parking. And there's a little green triangle of land. You've got the bridge, and then you've got the sidewalk that starts up high by the highway and then comes down towards the river and then goes to downtown. And in there is a green triangle. And there's also a boat landing there that we built when we built Riveredge Park. It's just limestone steps.
Right.
And that would be the place where I would like to see a fence there. And it could be a non-obtrusive, 4 foot high, you know, black metal, like wrought iron or something. But you could have a non-for-profit, you know, like Boys to Men or any other youth group that runs that for tips, okay? And so you go there, you get a ticket, you leave your boat or your kayak, canoe, or your bicycle there,
Yeah.
you get a ticket. When it's done, you come back, you pick it up, you give these guys a tip.
Kind of an old school feel too. Rowing on up to the venue, boy, that's taking it back. That's taking it back.
You know, I don't know how long you've lived here, but you used to have to go to Chicago for any great concert. So
Yeah.
it's an hour or more to get there. You got to pay as much to park as you pay for the concert ticket.
Yeah.
Now it's right here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's fantastic. And now we have the venue right across the street, so we have an indoor concert place as well.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the venue. Want to put a little flag in the conversation with that. So Mundy Park.
Yeah.
So that little area, you know, it wasn't too long ago. That was just broken glass, bottles, and sticks.
I know, and we really owe Wally Monday a huge credit.
Yeah.
I've known Wally, we've served on committees for many, many years. He paid for all of that out of his own pocket, okay? He dedicated it to his mom. The city did some of the surface preparation, but he did all the landscaping, beautiful, lush landscaping,
Yes.
all those pavers there. They put a garage door on the side of the venue so you can open it up and you can have an outdoor concert there. It goes nicely with all those events that we have in the Water Street Mall, you know, the art festival and things like that. It's one of the things that makes the livability factor much nicer in Aurora and in any small city. You can't do stuff like this in small towns. They just don't have the budget to do that stuff.
Right. I also think it's great for the people who live. See, those kind of things bring people to want to
Absolutely.
live downtown. Why?
Absolutely.
I want to. How much apartments here? There we go. Yeah.
Exactly.
I see the terminal building. Was that the one across the street? The scaffolding's gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's the Aaron Kills building.
Okay.
The one on the east side of the street.
That's Aaron Kill's building.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, scaffolding's gone there. So, there's still kind of a skeleton crew there. COVID is taking a big toll on a lot of stuff. I was in the terminal building last week. My day job is I work for the assessor's office, and they were telling me it's going to be done by year end. I don't believe them, but I salute their efforts.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that building, except for the ground floor, has been vacant for 6 decades. Okay. And except for the ground floor, and that's called the terminal building because that was the terminal offices for the one of the railroads. I think it's the one that ran up and down the Fox River, from Chicago to Aurora and then up north. And I will give Mayor Irvin credit for this. You know, he had all these developers that wanted to do projects, and he put the pressure on them to do some of these iconic eyesores. Okay, like the terminal building.
Yeah.
You know, like Copley Hospital, vacant forever.
Right.
Okay, and you know, we threw some public money at it, which I'm all for. Because it's going to be back on the tax rolls, it's going to be housing, and again, a lot of people who live down here don't need to have a car.
Right.
I mean, you got a train station right here, the biggest train station in Chicagoland. You can walk to it.
Yeah.
You know, you got the bus.
For God's sakes, yeah.
So you know, you can get by. The bike network and the Riverwalk that we have. You know, so downtowns are great places for empty nesters, you know, retirees, and for young people, you know, who have, you know, they're in a relationship or they're married, but they don't have kids yet, you know.
Yep.
They don't need the yard and the swing set.
Yeah.
You know, they're more concerned about the nightclubs and the coffee houses.
Yeah.
And that's what gives a city vitality, you know, and that's what we have been trying so hard to build. And it seems like it's taken a long time, but I'm a history major, so I'm used to looking at a longer timeline, okay?
Right.
And this is not that long, except in the scale of my lifetime. You know, I used to be brown-haired when I started all this stuff. You know?
Yeah. All right, now let's talk maybe we got a little bit in the Riveredge Park Committee.
Riveredge Park, you know, that is to me an incredible thing. When Seize the Future, which was the name of our economic development team, or it was a redesign, it was a plan that the Economic Development Commission put together. They had a little green square over there and it said Riverside Park. Okay, that was it. They also had on their master plan where all those car repair shops are and everything residential. Okay?
Yeah, right.
So when the Seize the Future plan came out, most of the emphasis from the city and from economic development, rightfully so, was on the downtown and on buildings and things like that. The East Side Trail between Illinois Avenue and downtown Aurora was hardly ever used by anybody. The West Side Trail was used a lot. And the reason is, not because it was the East Side, but because it ran behind all these factories and junkyards and really crappy, scary, dark, gloomy places.
I mean, you can find liquor bottles and all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
Tents.
Years ago, there was a brand new reporter, or no, a photographer for the Beacon. Just got a job here, and the editor called me and asked me if I'd show him around downtown. And he was from Southern Illinois, and we're walking around downtown. He saw a homeless person, like, under a bridge, and he's taking all these pictures. He'd never seen a homeless person before, you know?
Yeah.
And he was amazed at that, you know? And it's like, that's what the East Side was. So we wanted not just a little piece of grass. We wanted a concert venue.
Right.
Years ago, under the Pierce administration, there was talk of tearing down the Aurora Hotel, which is now the North Island Apartments, okay?
Okay.
And one of the ideas was to put a concert venue there. It's like, it's landlocked, it's small, you know.
Right.
We eventually put that little Millennium stage in on Stolp Avenue.
With the gazebo and everything,
With the gazebo, and that works out great for nice, intimate Wednesday concerts in the park and stuff. But we were thinking bigger, and so I started a group called RSVP, River Shore Vision Plan.
Okay.
And then the city actually created a document called River Shore Vision Plan, and I was on one of the contributors to that. And that's where we really got to express our dreams and hopes for the riverfront, okay, in an official city document, okay?
Right.
And we fought for a music venue there, a big music venue, okay? And part of the Seize the Future was a bridge, okay? And that's where the idea for the bridge came.
Aha.
But when the time came to actually start planning this was not a unanimous decision by the city council. And the only people testifying at city council meetings, Aurora's famous for people not going to city council meetings unless they're talking about gun control or something else.
Yeah.
Okay, real controversial. But it was, you know, the people in RSVP, which was, you know, the late Fran Caffey, who was with the Sierra Clubs, Linda Cole, who was president of the Park District then, oh God, who else? You know, myself. There was a bunch of people that were connected to either downtown or the river or recreation.
Right.
And we pushed for that hard. And the same thing for the bridge. When the bridge was up, we were the ones there testifying for it. And it was not unanimous. Neither of these things were unanimous. The park and the bridge both had votes against it, okay? So now when I hear...
What were the reasons for that? I didn't mean to cut you off, but what?
The same old reasons, you know. It's cost money, it doesn't produce any money. It's like, look, not everything that we use economic development dollars for has to have an immediate return. One of my problems with economic development is they focus, in my opinion, and I'm not criticizing them, but I mean, I'd like to broaden their perspective a little, is, you know, they go for projects that are going to have an immediate impact. I get that. But I also think there's some validity to taking out some of these eyesores, like the old kiddie car junkyard on Broadway, which we now own, okay, the city, and now
you're going north, it's on the left-hand side.
Correct.
Yeah, I hate that thing.
And it's and now it's being used as a parking lot for Riveredge Park. I'm on the Riveredge Park committee. We never talked about that, okay? And I have been vehemently against parking on the river for as long as I can remember, okay? And rather, I would take that and then behind the property to the north of that, which is the Ward properties, there's some car repair businesses there. There's another big piece of public land that we own. It's got an 8-foot tall chain link fence around it. It had pollution monitoring wells in it for years, which I don't think are used anymore. And it's, you know, the grass is like 8 or 9 feet tall. Yeah. Why don't we just cut the grass or plant a prairie and just make that green space rather than a gravel parking lot that's used 6 times a year, or a chain link fenced in, you know, wild area.
It literally, at times, depending on when you're going, it looks, that little stretch, it looks like Gary, Indiana or something. I mean, you're, how did you go from Paramount to, you know?
That's my whole point. We already own both of these parcels. what would it take to put sod, not sod, you could make it prairie,
Right,
you know?
right.
Or you could do grass, or you could do a combination of both. But just doing that, you know, and everybody says, well, you're diminishing the tax base. Look, Seize the Future plan already said all of those dirty businesses are going to get out of there.
Right.
That should be for river-related businesses. In fact, I think we need a new zoning category in Aurora that's for riverfront. You shouldn't have any industry in there. You shouldn't have any gas stations in there. It should be restaurants or entertainment or river-related. You know, kayak shops or Stearns Marina. They sell boats. I'm okay with that.
And Stearns Marina is the place that's on Illinois.
No, it's still on Broadway, but it's just
okay.
south of Illinois.
Okay, all right, because the gas station's on the corner.
Right.
Yeah, and then there's a car dealership.
There is a
antique audio or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. There's a couple of small businesses there, but yeah, so I would like us to invest some, you know, lead projects where you just kind of, you know, beautify some of these ugly spots and make it more attractive for a developer to come in and buy something next to it. You know.
In all of these, in all of your work on all these committees, now putting that time in, being on those committees, are you or have you started to see what we can call the fruits of your labor, or is there still more to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more to do.
Right.
But you know, things like the Green Mile, like Riveredge Park, the Riverwalk. Okay. Those all, and they all have a story behind them. Okay, you know, the Riverwalk was never fully embraced by the mayor, and I have a theory on this, which is just my wild theory. Mm-hmm. And the theory is, well, it was an alderman's project. You know, Mike Seville. Okay, he started it.
Ward 6, shout
Ward
out.
6.
Yeah.
But I think in the long run that may have hurt us, because I think a lot of the mayors were leery that if you do too much, if you make it too great, this alderman's going to get the credit and he could run against you one day. That's my theory, okay? It could be a wild ass.
No, because there's that quote, all the things we can accomplish if we don't care who gets the credit.
That's exactly right. And I think the Riverwalk was exactly the opposite of that.
Yeah, I get it.
And it started under Pierce, and the city never really paid for anything. The initial phase, the property owners were going to do it. Now, the two biggest property owners were the city and the casino.
Right.
So the city did spend money on land they already owned, okay? Then Wabansie came in, and they did the upper level Riverwalk, okay, which is nice.
Yeah.
We did the lower level one, and there's a great story behind that because we wanted to have a boat landing there, and nobody wanted to have a boat landing. And then somebody, I'll leave her nameless now.
Okay, I love it.
But she said, well, you know, people always go over that dam and drown. How's the fire department going to get down there? I go, that's brilliant.
Yes.
We went right to City Hall, and so that whole canoe landing behind Wabansie Community College is really a fire department access to do rescues.
Yeah.
You know, but there's beauty in that. It's a multi-purpose pad.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
It will help the fire department get down there, but it's also, you know, if it's such a great place to put your canoe or kayak in and to paddle 10 miles down to Oswego, okay? There's a loading area right there, and I made sure on the design review committee there's loading signs, 15-minute unloading,
Yeah.
okay? And then right across the street there's 6-hour parking, okay?
Yep.
So you can unload your boat behind Wabansie, move your car, park it for 6 hours, you know, get in the river, take your time going all the way down to Oswego, and then you pull out at the tap house. There's a big parking lot right down there, right on the river. Mm-hmm. And now Valley Doyle's is opening in Brays Mill and Oswego and Montgomery. So now we'll have a great stop in between.
Oh, nice.
That's a lot of work just getting down there. You have to go in for refreshment.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? But I mean, that's good design, you know? And I mean, that would be an incredible water trail if it wasn't for the Montgomery Dam. There is no portage around the Montgomery Dam, okay? It's one of the few dams without a portage, and there's 2 dams in Montgomery.
Okay.
There's the concrete dam on the main channel, and then there's an earthen dam on the east dead-end channel. And the bike trail goes right over it, but nobody knows about it. Whenever you read about the dams, nobody ever mentions there's one earthen dam, okay?
Right.
But if we take that out, and that is earmarked to come out, we now have one of the best urban rural water trails in the country, from Aurora to Oswego. And if the casino ever moves and we ever take out the Stope Avenue dams, it's even better. Now you can start up, and North Aurora Dam is coming out, so you can start in Batavia. But the Batavia Dam is coming out. So the next one is really Geneva, which serves no purpose. It should come out, but it's Geneva. It's probably not going to happen. But you could put it in Geneva and come all the way down to Oswego, or for that matter, Yorkville or the Dayton Dam.
I want to ask you about a story that told me about one of the earlier mayors and kayaking, and there was a bird that flew down or something to that nature.
No, okay. I think it was. We had organized a.
This was a while ago. We were at Two Brothers. We were having some coffee on a beautiful morning.
I think I know what you're talking about. It was I had organized a kayak trip for my Rotary Club.
Okay.
And I don't know if it was a Saturday or if it was after work, but we invited Mayor Weisner with, okay? And we put in North Aurora, just below the dam, and then we came down to Aurora. I don't know where we got out. Probably, well, it was north of the dam, so probably behind the township building.
Okay.
I think that's where we got out. But anyway, we were coming just north of Illinois Avenue. There's some islands up there.
Yep.
And we were on the eastmost channel. And the water there is kind of shallow. It's about 3-4 feet deep. And we had 30 boats, and the mayor's in like the second or third boat up front. And all of a sudden 5 deer came off the island.
That's what it was.
And just walked right between all the boats. And nobody said anything. We all stopped paddling. But it was like coexistence, you know. They walked across, and we were all sitting there looking at that, and the mayor's looking at that, you know, and it's like, see, this is a natural highway here.
That's what it wasn't a bird, it was deer. That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember that stuck with me for a while. I was like, man, that was a cool, because I understand moments like that.
Yeah.
When I was in the Navy, I'd see, you know, you got the dolphins with the ship. You can't, it's like a lifetime movie.
Exactly.
And you know, you get those kind of scenes. Those are the things that you don't need a camera for that. You keep that memory.
I was once, my buddy Jim and I it was March, cold, rainy, and we're up south of the Tollway Bridge. There's a bunch of islands there.
Right.
And we're kind of under some trees that are overhanging the river because it's raining, and it's like in the 30s. And there's a bald eagle coming straight at us from downstream. And then 20 feet ahead of us, he dives down to the river and grabs a fish. I've never seen this before. Then he spirals up, gets really high, drops the fish. Fish hits the water, dies, and then he comes back down and picks him up again, goes over to the shore and eats him. How cool is that?
What a life. Nature in all its splendor.
And you know, that's what the river is. It's a green corridor that brings nature into the city.
Yeah.
Okay. And COVID brought out this realization that we need public spaces, outdoor spaces. Big cities are losing populations now. New York and San Francisco, people are leaving because they're so concentrated and there's no place to go to be outside.
Right.
You know, the first 30 days of COVID in March, I ran 150 miles, you know, in 30 days on the Fox River Trail. I have been out every day. I was out Sunday, yesterday, you know, 34 degrees. I rode 11 miles on the Fox River Trail.
Nice.
We need that outdoor space. It's part of the requirements of a livable city, okay? And it's so much easier to do it in a city the size of Aurora, where we have open spaces, where we have buildings that do need to be torn down, in addition to buildings that need to be restored and, you know, rehabbed and refurbished. But you have to plan for this outdoor thing. It just makes city life much more better. We have to reinvent cities, and it's much easier to do that in small cities than it is in big cities, and that's what we're trying to do here.
What's the biggest eyesore to you? What's one building where you're just like, that's got it?
Well,
I'm sure there's a few, right?
North Broadway, okay?
Okay.
From Riveredge Park north, you've got illegal parking lots between the buildings, the back of the buildings and the river, and they're illegal because they're not paved. You're not supposed to park cars on unpaved land, and we've got hundreds of cars back there. That area on the Seize the Future Master Plan is designated as residential. Now, we can't go to the owner and say, tear down your buildings and put up residential. But what we can do is follow through with the master plan and rezone that land.
Right.
And maybe we grandfather the current guys in, but what we could do is offer financial incentives, which is what we do all the time.
Right.
You do this, we'll do the cleanup, we'll help with the tear down, we'll give you a grant. But that's what we need. That is what is going to make downtown Aurora and Aurora different, okay? We have a riverfront that's open and accessible and usable and paddleable. I've kayaked the Chicago River, okay? The Chicago River is unbeatable when you're kayaking through 100-story canyons of buildings.
Yes, yeah.
It's also incredibly dangerous, okay? When you're downtown, there is no riverbank. There's 10-foot sheet metal walls, okay?
Right.
And if you fall in, you can't climb out on the shore, okay? And secondly, you don't want to fall in. There's raw sewage there, you know, from the junction, you know, south, you know, where Bubbly Creek is. That's the dirtiest water in the world, okay?
Right, yeah.
Plus all of those commercial boats, the water taxis, the tourist boats, they make big waves, okay?
Yes, they do.
That's dangerous. We don't have big boats down here, you know? This is a river that is the scale for pedestrians. There's canoes and kayaks. And we do have small boats out there, and that's fine. But you know, you got to go with what nature gave you. One of the things I want to see for Riveredge Park, when we were building that, I talked to Tom Meisner, and you know, it's a long, skinny park, and we have all these small Bose quality speakers on the light posts, okay?
Right.
But when you have a long park like that and you use copper wire, there's a delay between the sound that comes out of the speaker closest to the stage and the one farthest to the stage. So it's almost like an echo.
Right.
So we have fiber optic cable, okay? So there is no delay, okay? So you get the same sound instantly along that whole long distance of the audience area.
Right.
We're putting that up, and I said, Tom, if we had a couple of speakers facing the river, you know, we could have people out there. And he goes, have you ever seen the World Series in San Francisco when they had all the kayaks out there, you know, waiting to catch a home run ball? I go, yeah. He goes, do you know how much it would cost to get to pay for advertising like that? And I go, so we can aim a couple of speakers at the river? He goes, yeah.
Yeah, let's turn them.
And so I have been out there. Now I go to 5-6 concerts a year at Riveredge Park, except for this year. But some of the concerts, you know, I don't want to spend the money to it. I don't have a lot of money, so I can't go to everyone.
Right.
But I'll sit out there in the river, and there have been 30 or 40 boats out there. Originally, it was all canoes and kayaks, and now there's some power boats that use the boat launch up at Veterans Island.
Yes.
And that's fine. But I think what we could do to make it better is put some buoys in there, or poles that are driven into the ground, so all the boats can line up in a row.
Right.
Leave an open space 20, 30 feet wide from the shore out so canoes and kayaks can travel through there. And then there's these things called Duffy boats, okay? And Duffy boats, they have them in the Chicago River. They're like up to 12 passengers. They're a very shallow draft, which means they only need like 18 inches of water. They are open, but they have a rectangular canvas roof on them.
Right.
So in one configuration, and they're electric. They have electric, so they make no pollution and no noise, okay? So in one configuration with all benches, you can put 12 people in there. But you can take out a couple of the middle benches and put in a dining room table, and then the restaurants in Chicago will rent the Duffy boat. They'll bring their customers down to the dock, put them in the boat, bring the meal down there, and then they go out for an hour.
Boy.
And we have, across from Riveredge Park, just north of the bridge, there's a concrete pier. And it doesn't stick out, it runs parallel to the shore.
Yeah.
But that's what that is for, okay? And then Bill Donnell, an alderman, was saying, you know, the Park District owns that old stone boathouse behind Plum Landing, which has never been used. It's got a concrete roof, and there's like a little outlook up there.
Yeah, that thing.
And he goes, I bet they would rent that. And it's like, so you can put 2 Duffy boats there. You could, all the downtown restaurants, what a great attraction that would be. You can only go up to Illinois Avenue, but that's as far, actually you can go up to the islands beyond Illinois Avenue,
right,
about a quarter of a mile.
Yeah.
But that's far enough. Or you could park and watch concerts at Riveredge Park. That's the kind of activity that we need to have on the river. One other thing on Riveredge Park, if I can go back to that.
Certainly.
The The stage design that we have now is a product of a field trip that many people on the committee, not me, I couldn't go, they went up to Summerfest in Milwaukee. Summerfest is the largest music festival in the world. It's a month long. There's like, I don't know how many stages. My first date with my wife was to see Jackson Browne at Summerfest.
Very cool.
In like 1979, okay? They have multiple stages. You pay one entry fee, and all the stages are free except for the main stage, okay?
Right.
But it was a multi-stage thing. My favorite stage always was the Miller Jazz Oasis. I used to see To Luxury, which was a jazz or a blues band here that could play up there. And it was just a great thing. So some of us have always envisioned multiple stages for Riveredge Park. Riveredge Park would be the main separate fee stage. But when the Masonic Temple burned down, the city wisely saved all those columns, and they're sitting there on Lincoln Street, you know, just waiting for use. And I proposed building a new stage on the West Bank in Wilder Park. There's a rise that goes up, and you've got the river, the bike trail, and then this rise, and then the rest of Wilder Park.
Yep.
If we built a rectangular stage there, you could have, and on the riverside, there's a little concourse area where a bunch of bike trails meet, okay?
Yep.
So that, if you had small, like Wednesday in the Park concerts, you know, with 100 people, they could face the river, okay? But if you had a big Saturday event, you could face west, you know, all the way up the hill at Wilder Park. One of the problems with Riveredge Park is that it's a union house. It's managed by the Paramount, which is a union house, which is a good thing. They pay great wages to all the workers, and you know, you get top quality. But it costs $25,000 to turn on the lights at Riveredge Park. So non-for-profits can't use it for events. You know, I think they did the Puerto Rican festival there a couple of times. It's just too expensive, okay? Right. This could be a free stage, okay? So I talked to Gina Moga at the Office of Special Events. She goes, love the idea. I don't want to manage it, but she's working on an online form where anybody can submit their application to use any of the venues that we have, and she wants it run through there. But she's all for it. I talked to Tim Rader, who's the president of the Paramount. He loves the idea. He just doesn't want programming that conflicts with concert at Riveredge Park. I go, agreed.
Right.
I says, but what about this, Tim? Saturday on Blues on the Fox, you guys open at 2 o'clock. What if we had a stage over there, and at 10 o'clock, all the local blues bands played up until 2 o'clock? He loved that idea, okay? It's also a place where it could be the judging stand for 5Ks or adventure races, things like that. It could get a lot of use of it. And what we're trying to do now is to activate the river, to program it, to put activity there, to bring people down there. One of the other ideas for Riveredge Park, there's that tall radio tower there.
Yep.
And if you'll notice, there's a flat area. That's designed, and it was going to be built this year, but COVID interrupted that. But we're building a combination concession stand and restroom there that's going to service that park, okay?
Oh.
The piece of River Street that goes between Cedar and Vine, which is the width of Wilder Park, is going to get ripped out. They're going to replace it with pavers. There'll be bollards there, so they could move the bollards so the fire trucks can get through if there's a fire at the apartments. Right. But it's basically going to be a pedestrian. If you're coming down River Street, you'll get to Cedar Street, and then you have to go up to Lake Street, down Lake Street 1 block, and then down the other side and go to the apartments. But that could be a food truck park. You can have food trucks parked there. You've got a free stage right there. You've got parking on the bricks. You bring people down there. There's no reason we couldn't do that every single Saturday. There's no reason we couldn't do that when there's an event at Riveredge Park.
Right.
But we have the river, we have the bike trails. What we are lacking now is the programming, okay? But when people come to Riveredge Park, even the performers on the stage, they love it. They love the river. Mm-hmm. They love seeing the kayaks out there, you know? That's what we need out there, and that's what I want to focus on. That's what we are focusing on now.
And it sees the
Future.
Seize the future.
I was going to bring that book with me today and show you all this stuff.
Something for a part two. Something for a part two.
That's right. It's a work in progress. Masterpieces take time.
Of course, of course. One more thing before we wrap up here, I want to get your opinion on our restaurants. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. I asked a few other guests.
Sure.
I'm a new guy coming into town. We're going to have lunch. Haven't been here before. Where would you take me?
Well, can I start at breakfast and work my way through?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Well, for breakfast, I love Treadwell Coffee.
Oh yeah.
They've got some great pastries that are made by what's the place in Montgomery? Trevete? I forgot. A great bakery in Montgomery. You also have Jake's Bagels, which is right on the bike trail. They got outside dining there.
Oh yeah.
Homemade bagels, real bagels. My son lives in Detroit. His girlfriend's from New York. And she came here and she was complaining about bagels. I go to Jake's. They have real bagels.
Yes.
So they boil them in water. I go, yes, they do. You know.
And a great patio.
And a great patio.
Yeah.
Lunch, you know, the Roundhouse is nice. We've got the new ones that I haven't been to because COVID hit. You know,
Right.
Altero and the one in the Leland, or the what's the other one?
Altero.
Altero. What's the other one though? In the Vargas building next to the Riverfront Playhouse.
Next to Riverfront. Oh, Mora.
Mora
on the river. Yeah.
Yes, I've been there. That's great. Let's see what else. We also have some great Mexican restaurants with real tacos. I no longer eat American tacos.
Yeah.
If I see sliced, diced tomatoes, iceberg lettuce,
Cheese, shredded.
American shredded cheese, I walk away.
Sour cream.
Yeah. Durango tacos or Cafe Muniz, great tacos.
I haven't had Cafe Muniz before.
Oh, they're at Prairie and Lake Street.
Oh boy.
And they're good.
Okay.
But Durango's my favorite.
Yeah, right around the corner.
They're like $1. They're big, they're cheap, they're good. You know, I like those. Let's see. And then, of course, you got the Roundhouse. I don't know. I just finished putting 3 kids through college. We went through periods where we weren't eating out a lot. Now with COVID, I forgot what a restaurant is.
Yeah, still. So what's next? What's next for Charlie Zine and the city of Aurora?
Well, like I say, I've got this wish list of things I want to see done.
Right.
I want the Fox River Trail on the east side to go through downtown. Okay, just like it does on the west side. Okay, and I was taking Judd Lofshe, the alderman, to show him my idea. I says we go underneath New York and underneath Galena, and then we hook up there and we go to Water Street Mall. And he goes, why don't we just go under New York and then come here, right where that iron bridge used to be that they just ripped out behind Aurora Fast Print.
Yes.
And I go, Judd, that's a genius idea. It's going to be, we don't have to go underneath Galena, and then we don't have to negotiate the dam, you know? So now we don't have to change it when the dam comes out. But if you do that, not only do you give equal treatment to the east side that we've given to the west side, but you also create a much more efficient way for people, for 8,000 people to leave Riveredge Park and find their way to the restaurants and bars downtown.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You also make the Chaudine property much more developable because now you've got a nice, pleasant walk from their property to downtown to Riveredge Park into the train station. Okay. And studies have shown that people will walk much further if it's a pleasant walk, if it's pretty, if it's safe, if it's attractive, if it's healthy. That's what these riverfront trails are. That's what they are. So I want that to happen. The problem is we need more than me. Okay.
Right.
And so I think the people downtown have mastered this. They have figured out how to ask for things and how to demand things, okay? We need the rest of people who live in Aurora to do that. There's a lot of here people that bike and kayak and walk and enjoy the river, and they need to speak up. You need to call your alderman and say, we want the east side trail to go through downtown, you know? Right now we're working on a bypass. One of the things that with Riveredge Park is we bought the bike trail, we traded from the Park District. So we now own it, the city does. And the reason is, we used to put up a portable fence between the bike trail and Riveredge Park,
right.
okay, during concerts. it was kind of ugly. It was kind of expensive. You had all these people watching for free just outside, 6 feet away from people who pay money to get a seat. But more importantly, it was expensive to put up the fence and take the fence down and do all that stuff. So we acquired the trail. But now the trail is closed during concerts.
Right.
Okay? And there is no good bypass around it. So I walked the trail a while ago, and I just had a Zoom call with Trevor Dick, who's the Director of Strategic Planning for the City of Aurora, for a bypass to go around there. So if you're heading south from Illinois Avenue, at some point we want to make a paved trail that goes out to the sidewalk on Broadway.
Right.
But it's only a wide sidewalk from the combined sewage overflow plant, the CSO plant, which is just north of Riveredge Park, south.
Right.
Anything north of that, it's only like 5 feet wide, and it's a very narrow sidewalk, and it's dangerous in the winter because they pile snow up there, and a lot of times people
Can't tell
walk
where the
in the
sidewalk
streets.
is. Yeah.
I almost hit somebody at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to work. I'm going to the coffee house. And there's a guy all dressed in black, so he doesn't show up very well. And he's walking in the street because there's snow on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And scared the heck out of me. So it's got to be closer to the park. But those are the kinds of ongoing things that we're working on. But they all kind of fit together,
The show ends on a positive note. What is your message to the people of Aurora going into, the day and the rest of the week?
Well, this is our city, okay? If you live here, if you work here, if you play here, you have a voice.
Yep.
Tell people what you want, okay? And because this is our town, okay? We have 10 council members. They're our representatives. We have the mayor's office. They are our representatives. We need to tell them what we want. It's worked for downtown. Downtown is the best it's been in my 35 years here. I was never here when it was the regional shopping center. I've seen the photographs with thousands and thousands of people shopping downtown Aurora. Okay,
Right.
It's never going to be that again. I don't necessarily want it to be that.
Right.
Okay, but I do want it to be a lively, cultural, inviting, diverse place where nature and civilization intersect.
Where nature and civilization intersect. What a strong way. That's it. Cut. Well, I wish you the very best on all that you do, and I thank you very much for helping to make the city nice.
I thank you for letting me get up here and talk about my city and what I want to do with it and what we want to do with it.
Exactly.
To make it our city.
Yep, make it our city. So, on behalf of the second largest city's first daily news podcast, I'd like to thank our guest, Charlie Zine, for coming in and speaking with us today. We wish him the very best, and we wish all of you listeners and viewers the best as well. Be blessed, and have a fantastic day and week. Peace.
Thank you, Curtis.
Yeah.